All right, Stokastic, here we go. The dynamic duo is back. We are just so good, Matt. They can't get enough of us. They're putting us on more and more days. How have you been, my friend? I got off the schneid finally, at least for one day.
Nice. Happy to hear that. I'm good. I always like these live before lock shows that end before the actual lock. So happy to be talking some MLB with you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I was. We'll wait for everybody to collect here, and then we have NBA live before lock because tonight we have the win and you're in to the postseason play-in tournament games. Tomorrow it's literally the loser leaves town, and then Friday, whoever wins tomorrow's games will be facing off for the final slot. Saturday we start the playoffs. Looks like the first game is going to be at 1:00. Then 3:30, and then after late afternoon, early evening, depending on your time frame, and then night game. So NBA playoffs, real basketball starts soon. But in the meantime, we're going to get in some MLB action here. Matt, I looked at the weather. Does not seem to be any major concerns. There are a couple places that could be looking at sprinkles. The Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York area, that's nothing new for this time of year, but it looks like there is nothing sustained and nothing more than scattered showers. And in any event, most of it wouldn't happen until after the game. So we should be safe there. Did you have any other weather info that you were looking at?
No, it looks like some pretty good hitting spots around the league tonight. So yeah, hitting is going to be, as always, you're going to have to get your stacks right.
And that will be what we discuss here. I'm sharing the top stacks tool, but I'm going to flip over to the top pitchers tool. We're going to hit on pitchers. We got some good feedback on how we did that show on Sunday. So we're going to kind of discuss the pitchers, and then we'll make sure we go game by game to hit everything else that we didn't get. We'll more or less cover stacks during that portion. We'll round things up. Of course, with so ingrained on hitting top stacks tool for what I look at, I just hit the top stacks tool again. Then we'll give you guys some home runs, have some fun, and then we will clear out so we can get the baseball action going here. There's interesting diffusion. It's not confusion. It's disbursement of the top pitchers. If you look at various daily ranking sites I'm including ESPN, I'm including FanGraphs, some of our other competitors here. It seems to be the players at the top. Most everybody agrees that Flaherty, Fried, probably Hunter Brown, and then depending on the site, Spencer Schwellenbach are going to be up there for fantasy points. So there's kind of four to look at. They all are at elevated salaries. Fortunately, each of the sites has given us some discount bats that's not going to be a major issue. But it's there's no slam dunk play, but there's a lot of decent pitchers, but a lot of them have minor question marks, Matt. So the guy I want to lead off with for me is Flaherty. So he has been bounced around, got traded from St. Louis to Baltimore, did not have a good run when they went for their playoff push. And then the next year he was with Detroit, was actually really good. And then he ended up with the Dodgers, was okay, but had two of his three postseason appearances were a hot mess. And then this year he signed to a 2-year deal with Detroit, and he seems to be looking good thus far. He's kind of the guy I'm starting with, but depending on your side of choice, he is somewhere between the first and like the sixth best pitcher. And there's about a 10 to 15% difference in his projection, which is a little higher than normal than what we see for these true aces. Do you have anything you don't like about him? And is he your top pitcher?
Yeah, so I think pitching is pretty tight. Like there isn't that much separating the top pitcher and the eighth best pitcher on the slate, or the fifth best pitcher, however you want to phrase it. I do think that Flaherty looks the best, but I don't think he looks amazing here. I mean, he's very good. He's not like a true ace that I feel just is going to dominate any matchup like we had on, what was that, Sunday with like Crochet and Reagans and all those, and one other guy that was really good, Hunter Green, who was really, really good. I don't feel that way about Flaherty, but I do think him and Fried are the two best guys here. I don't love the matchup for Flaherty. Milwaukee's been better against righties. Their lineup sets up better against righties. He's been really good. He's coming off a very good start against the Yankees, actually. So we know that he can get it done in tough spots. I just don't feel like I don't feel that strongly about his ownership being too high, too low. I think it's appropriate that he's 25% owned. If anything, I think it would be a little bit too high. Our leverage score is indicating that as well. So for me, I'm only playing one lineup tonight. I don't think I'm going to play Flaherty.
Okay. And that's definitely fair. Those were essentially the same concerns I had. The Milwaukee Brewers last year were 6th overall in offense, relatively unchanged, aside from Willy Adames now being in San Francisco. But that also means that you've got Jackson Chourio, Garrett Mitchell, even Sal Frelick, another year of experience under their belt, and that's their rising crew there. You've got William Contreras, who is continuing on in the family tradition of being a good hitting catcher/DH, and then Christian Yelich still floating around, plus Bryce Terang. He's the wild card. He bats last against lefties and first usually against righties. He hasn't really been stealing bases. He had over 50 last year. I think he only has 2 on the season here. I haven't looked at it that closely, but I took him out of my weekly lineup because I didn't like what he was doing. So that is the guy I'm comparing to Fried, which similarly you did as well. My second pairing is Spencer Schwellenbach and Hunter Brown. And that's just kind of how those guys lined up. And we're splitting hairs between all 4 of these guys. There's 2 others that are definitely in the mix before we even get to salaries. And I wouldn't want to try to live on the difference. That's how we're ranking these people. But that's all part of the fun of baseball DFS. What are your knocks, if any, against Fried?
Just don't think his strikeout upside is that high in this spot for a $9,500 tag. I think he looks good here. I think I like him actually slightly more than Flaherty, ownership considered, but I do think they're very similar on this slate. Fried being more expensive obviously helps Flaherty in that case. So I like both. Neither one of them is a must play for me at all. I think there's plenty of good pitching on this slate. They're both very good pitchers. Fried is the better pitcher in my opinion. I just don't love the strikeout upside or the weather. It's very conducive for hitting tonight. So for me, I like both, don't love either. And then as far as Hunter Brown and Schwellenbach go, I think that you're right to lump them together because they're both very good, but also overpriced. Like there's no reason for these guys to be $1,000 more than like the next lump of pitchers. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're very good. Hunter Brown is a guy I play a lot of. I think you can play him here. I like him more than Schwellenbach, considering he's 500 less. And, they're both in not great matchups. So for me, they'd be guys I'd just be mixing in multi-entry type stuff. For one lineup, I won't get to either because there's guys that project better that are a lot cheaper. So
sure.
That's all it is. Like if I was to play one of them, though, it would be Hunter Brown pretty clearly for me. I'm not interested at all in spending 10-5 on Schwellenbach against the Jays here.
Yep, that makes sense. And one other thing I wanted to add is the fun thing here with both Flaherty and Hunter Brown is they're following dominant type lefties. So Tariq Skubal coming off the Cy Young Award, Framber Valdez, though he did not have a good game yesterday, he has that that wicked ground ball, lean, etc. So that makes things tricky for hitters, at least the first time through the order, because it's like, oh, wait, that's not what we saw yesterday. Yes, I know they're going to see relievers and platoon players and all of that, but this is something that it's there's a reason for years and years and years, managers have always tried to alternate lefty righty wherever they could. It's just, over the course of the season, that sort of thing adds up. But I do agree with you that Brown is the pitcher I prefer. However, that Toronto offense, oh my goodness, a lot of red when you filter on their limited sample size this season. It was great that they signed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. To that big, gigantic contract. Hat tip for getting Anthony Santander. But I keep looking at Bo Bichette, and he just has not been the same since his 2 All-Star years. Last year was a lost season. Jury's out. He is at least making some contact at this point. He's getting hits. I think he might even have the league lead in hits, but he doesn't have very many extra base hits. And that's really what we'd like to see from him, where his price usually sits in daily fantasy sports. And then Andres Jimenez, not your prototypical cleanup hitter. He's more of a glove guy, yet they had him against, I think, a cleanup against a lefty earlier in the last few days, which surprised me. But he's hitting it well right now. But that's really it for people that scare me from Toronto. Did you have anybody else? You had said Toronto may have worried you a little bit more, or is it more just that salary going against Toronto in their home park?
Yeah, a lot of it's the salary. Like, I think he's a fine if you were like 8,500 here, he'd be an okay play. Like, I think he'd be a good play, nothing more than a good play, and he's 2K more than that. So I think he's way overpriced here. He's going to be very low owned, as he should be. So anytime you can get a pitcher like, I guess, as good as Swellenbach at that low ownership, he's in play, but I don't even know if I consider him like good enough to lump in that category yet. So maybe he proves me wrong here, but I'm not playing any Schwellenbach. I don't think I would get to him. Maybe in 150 settings would be like, I'd get to what the field is at, but that's it.
All right. Well, let's talk through your thoughts on some of these other players here. I think ultimately it ended up being Tyler Mahle that's going to start for Texas. I know there was a Patrick earlier this morning. There was different information sources saying different things. I'm assuming that settled out. I had to go to a dentist appointment. I need to get a tooth removed. I'm not happy about that. I shouldn't be doing that as I'm in my 50s now, Matt. That's not good. Remind your kiddo to brush and floss once she understands those concepts. I have anyway.
We brush for her right now, so yeah, it's definitely got to ingrain that in.
That's not why mine is being removed, but I don't envy anybody. And I just had a crown put on it 2 months ago, so not happy about this whole thing. In any event, I didn't do a final circle through here to double check all of our tools. But what are your feelings on Tyler Mahle? Dealt with injuries, but he's back. Same thing with Jeffrey Springs. The questionable Landon Knack gets a great matchup against Colorado. Chat's curious about him. You've got Ryan Pepio in a tough weather situation. We saw his team manage to put up 16 runs yesterday. The Boston Bats, I don't think are going to be quiet 2 days in a row. And then when you go look at, I was all ready to write up Shota Imanaga this morning, but I started looking at his stuff, and his strikeouts just aren't where my mental picture of where I thought they were. They're not there. What do you like from our second wave of pitchers? Because half of them are probably going to be viable options tonight. Good luck figuring out which half.
Yeah, at least half. I'm with you. So a lot of these guys look similar. For me, I'm not playing Landon Knack. I get it. Like, the matchup is pristine to the Rockies, but I like the other options more. He's not very good. So I'd rather use a pitcher that's at least good, if not great. And, not as good of a matchup, but still good matchups here. So yeah, Mahle is the one that I'm really torn on. He's in my lineup right now, and a lot of that is because of the tools. Tools really like him here. His underlines aren't quite as good as his actual numbers, but he's been good over the past 2 starts. They need a good start today. He's 8K. He just projects really well for his price tag. He ranks really high in the top pitcher tool. Ownership isn't high. I don't know. At first glance, I thought I would like Tyler McGill more than him. Matchup probably a little bit better for McGill. This Minnesota offense stinks. Same price tag, basically. McGill's on the road. Mahle's at home. But we have Mahle with projected for 2 more fantasy points than McGill here, and that's significant. So I think I might end up on Mahle. I don't feel great about it, and I'm still torn between him and McGill, so I'm interested to hear if you have a take there. But before you do, 2 other guys I'll just mention. Jeffrey Springs got to be in play. I mean, he's got strikeout stuff, and he's facing the White Sox. So I'd much rather play him than Landon Knack, even at that price difference. Not hard to get to that $1,200, upcharge in Springs here. So I would play him over Knack in the 2 really good spots. And then Pepio in play. Don't love the matchup, but he's too cheap for his stuff. Then the other guy that I just think is way too cheap that I'm going to play is Bailey Ober. So I don't love the matchup, but I'm a believer in his stuff, and he's under 7K now. I'm playing Ober. So what's your take on all these guys?
So I'm trying to confirm it. And it used to be Ranger Blake on Twitter used to put out, he was the was the vice president. Oh, now he's not anymore. That's why he's not doing it. He's a senior advisor and historian now. So he would always tell what the uniform combination was going to be, and as if the roof was open or closed. It's crazy that so many of these stadiums just don't have a good source of letting you know. So Josh Gillum, you are a trusted person in chat that has been here for years. I'm going to assume you have sourced that information saying that the Rangers, the ballpark in Arlington has the roof open tonight. Now we have learned that it's not quite as pitching neutral as a park as it was in their first year during that pandemic season, but even with the roof closed. But this is not the same Texas, one, weather, and two, what used to make their ballpark extremely home run friendly. It's at the same place, but it's a different part of the site and constructed entirely differently. But that is not going to dissuade me from going with Molly. I was looking at his pitch counts here. So he has worked his way up from 61 in his first start to 83 to then 93. He's continued to, his strikes have been there. His strikeouts, not so much, 3, 5, and 4. But if we look at his strikes, he had 30 in his 61 pitches in his first start, 54 in his 83 pitches. And then he threw 66 strikes of his 94 pitches. So that, I think, is kind of helpful to look at. Nothing is real, and I'm only doing a cursory glance at it right now. Nothing's really popping with the velocity, etc. Now, keep in mind he has missed time in each of the last couple of years, so that it makes it harder to sort of look at that trend. But he's been sitting in the 92 to 94 mile per hour range for his fastball. Not elite, but it's not bad either. And we know he has other pitches that he can lean upon, which is enough to make him a frontline starter. Of course, he's in his age 30 season, so youth is no longer on his side, but he should still have a couple more seasons at a solid talent before he has to start getting by on guile. So I'm okay with Molly. I don't know what to do with Knack. I was against why am I blanking on his name? The Ginger Hammer last
Dustin May. Before you talk about Knack, I want to hear your opinion on Tyler McGill at the same price as Molly.
So McGill is I have an irrational preference for him because he was available so often as a streamer in season-long leagues. And you start to be able to get him going against teams like the Nationals and the Marlins. And I feel like I might have an inflated sense of his abilities there. I am never afraid to go with him. If we look at just his production line, just the raw numbers, they're about the same as Molly's here. But let's take a peek here. He is going against the Twins. So if we look at the Twins here, Matt Wallner's their best hitter against when he's got the platoon advantage. That also means Trevor Larnach is going to be in the lineup, but there's nobody else overly terrifying, right? Byron Buxton is, Carlos Correa is, they're not bad, but they're not really your frontline bats. So I don't ever mind picking on them. It looks like it's going to be in the low 50s with the breeze out to right field. I think I'd still give the edge to Molly. It's like about a 55-45, maybe a 60-40, but it's close. But I understand why you're leaning towards Molly in your one.
I'm really torn. I mean, honestly, like I was McGill, but the tools are pushing Molly. So,
well, you don't have to go against Mike Trout. You don't have to go against. You do have to go against Mike Trout. You do have to go against Taylor Ward. But aside from that, I mean, you got Nolan Chanel, who never really quite broke through as a prospect. You have Kyron.
He's playing
Paris.
really well this year so far, though.
So far, he is. Kyron Paris is playing out of his mind. But then you've got win machines with Joe Adell and who is it? Tim Anderson's in the lineup. Travis d'Arnaud. There's a lot of strikeouts available. I think I'd lean towards Molly, but again, it's more than a coin flip. But it's not if we flipped over our lineups and I'm like, ha, he played Molly and I played McGill. I'd be like, shit, should I have played Molly? So,
yeah, I'm with you there.
All right, hoy. Knack. The Knack. I don't know what to do. He doesn't have any redeeming qualities. Like none. And at least Dustin May does. But Dustin May gets credit for way more strikeouts than he does. I mean, if you're going to play Knack, now's the time to do it, but I don't feel great about it because I don't think he can get himself out of trouble.
That's a fair point.
Is Colorado going to put him into trouble?
Well, yeah. I do look at it like if you're not playing Knack at 7K against the Rockies at home, you're probably just never playing Knack. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with never playing Knack. He's not that good, so I don't need to play him. I get it. He's in the nut matchup, the Rockies on the road. I just think there's better pitchers on this slate with higher strikeout upside. The whole shebang. Wouldn't be shocked if the Rockies got to him a little bit here.
Yeah. Just looking at the lineup. Going against a bunch of lefties, that doesn't play in his favor, although he did allow more power to righties than lefties last year. Strikeouts, they're not dreadful, but I never think of him as a strikeout pitcher. This year, they have been, well, he's only got 15 at bat. We're not going to look at this year. But his fly ball is awfully high. Last year, it was almost a 40% fly ball rate. His hard hit rate was over 50%. That just makes it tough if you're not getting people out at the plate. I see a good one here from Mike Hawley. Is a Rocky stacked in play? We would have the leverage, it looks like, based upon the tools. Would you consider that if you were playing 10 or more lineups?
Yeah, I would play the Rockies over Knack here personally. Like, I wouldn't play them in single entry, but I don't think they're as crazy as they would be on a lot of slates in single entry because you're going to have a lot of pitchers be chalky against them. Most of them are going to be better than Knack. So, I'm fine picking on that ownership. Really tough to see them like winning the slate here, but don't mind pieces, I guess I should say.
All right. We just got the projections are beginning to update. The projections just did. So that means this will flow through the tools here shortly. Is there anything else you want to mention on the positive side for pitchers? The only one that surprised me was Charlie Morton was getting a lot of love from a baseball person I respect, or a baseball person's model that I respect, but I don't see it. And hat tip to my fellow old. And Charlie Morton, he's like the one player still older than you in the league. You're rooting for him, right?
Have to be. I mean, not tonight against Cleveland. I'm off Morton.
That's right. There we go. Boots on the ground. What do local sources say about that?
Well, the game's in Baltimore, so not too much, but I mean, Morton is really cheap at 6,500. Cleveland's lineup is a little bit different than it's been in years past. There are more strikeouts. I think they have more upside, especially with Manzardo in that cleanup hole. So I'm more apt to stack Cleveland against Morton, but there are expensive bats on this slate, and Morton at 6,500, it's about as cheap as you'll ever get him. So, yeah, I mean, I get the play. I'm not on it. For me, the guy that I mentioned that you didn't even acknowledge was Bailey Ober. I mean, again, I don't love the spot against the Mets, but I'm high on his talent level. He had a really, really rough start. He hasn't been great to start the year, and his first start of the year was a disaster. Came out after that he was sick. He's been increasingly better each and every start since then. He's just too cheap for me. So I'm on board with Bailey Ober. How do you feel about him? And then we can.
For me, it was really the matchup. Like if we could put him in Molly's matchup, or if we could put him in Schwellenbach's matchup, I think I would prefer Bailey Ober. He's put together, two really good years coming into this season where he averaged, I'm just eyeballing it, about 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, definitely above one full strikeout. His walks have been borderline impeccable, about 2 per 9. That's really, really good. Home runs, all right, well, he's just above league average, but I'll take that with the strikeouts. But part of the challenge is he doesn't get many ground balls, so that leads to his hard hits turning into line drives or home runs. But he makes up for it in real life baseball by striking out the opposing team. So I like him. I just don't like the matchup. As fun as I have, it's like the Motor City Kitties, and then they got good. It's the hashtag LOL Mets, and now they're good. And so you have to kind of set aside some of those preconceived notions, because for years it was like attack the Mets, and it's not attack the Mets the last 2 seasons. So that's sort of where I stood with it. But I would agree from a talent standpoint and a 2-year trajectory, 2 full years heading into a third, Ober is just as good as Hunter Brown. Not quite Max Fried, not quite Flaherty, but he should be in the conversation with them from an on-the-field perspective.
Makes sense.
All right, you want to run through game by game here and uncover what we may not have hit with the pitchers?
Let's do it. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Okay, let me get over here. So let's start off with Boston and Tampa Bay. It is a warm one here this afternoon in Tampa Bay, mid to upper 70s. That'll be cooling down to mid to lower 70s. You've got the wind going out to right field in George Steinbrenner Field. We saw a lot of home runs yesterday, and Bailey Houck is not exactly the person that you would expect to give up those kind of runs and or power. So that was a surprise and fun. Does that happen again today against Walker Buehler? I'm leaning towards yes. Walker Buehler has good name recognition, but there's a reason the Dodgers more or less let him walk. And they're a team that, while they have a gazillion really good pitchers, those pitchers are all hurt or suspended. So they could use a pitcher if he was still good, but he's in his age 30 season. I think he's more name recognition than deserved of his talent. I like all things Tampa Bay today, at least through the first 6 members of their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not at least have some interest in the Rays here with how they've been? Buehler is not someone we're afraid to pick on. He can certainly have his spike starts like he had last time out, but in general, he's not the Walker Buehler of 3 years ago where he was like a bona fide Cy Young contender. Maybe he gets back to that, but he's not there right now, certainly. And Tampa in this ballpark, I mean, they've proven that they can get there. They've hit for power. They run. I mean, they're not my favorite stack on the board, but they're definitely in play. Kicking myself for not playing them last night. Tanner Houck sucks, so I like them, just didn't get to them. They're coming in with leverage again tonight. So, again, they're not my favorite stack on the board, but they're certainly one of the top 5-6 stacks. And if anyone told me they were stacking them in single entry, I'd be cool with it. I don't think that they, I think the case could be made that they're the top stack on the board. Price tag considered. Not quite there for me, but certainly in play.
Yes, and I'm just going to filter here by top stack, we can kind of see there are, a dozen teams that are really bunched together tonight. So this is going to be one where we aren't going to know until the dust settles who was the right play.
Yeah, and I just got to say this about Tampa. We did the show on Tampa went nuts yesterday, but we did the show on Sunday where they were facing Chris Sale. I liked Atlanta a lot. Matched up with, I can't even remember. Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle was dominant. And the Tampa stack is what you needed to get there. Camanero's homered in 3 straight games. Tampa is red hot right now. So, again, they look good here. I mean, Buehler is not someone I'm scared of.
Turning our attention to the other side here, Pepio, Taj Bradley, those types I would have preferred in Tropicana Field where it's pitching friendly. I really can't advocate for Ryan Pepio here. He's a guy I drafted on a lot of my season-long teams, but this is a situation where on my daily waivers, I am sitting him today. My weekly moves, I went ahead and played him, but kind of is what it is. Boston is, I don't know, older, but they're still decent. I wish Tristan Casas would figure things out. They're a lineup I don't really want to attack. I'm not super scared by it, but in a situation like this, if they put up 8 runs today, I wouldn't blink twice. And that just has me off Pepio. Okay with Boston as kind of if they filter in on 10% of my lineups, I'm okay with that from the stack. I'm not chasing them as I prefer the Tampa side, but I think this is one you want to try to be a little over the field on.
Yeah, Boston looks good here. I respect Papio enough to not stack them, but I did use Boston yesterday against Shane Vaz, Vaz was dynamic yesterday.
Cy Vaz?
Yeah, something like that, I guess. I mean, I think I like Papio even more than Vaz, even though I don't think he has a high upside. Boston's got to be in play in this ballpark. The top stack tool likes them. Again, I'm not playing them in one lineup, but they could certainly break the slate here. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think Tampa looks better, but a month from now, by the end of the season, I think Boston's lineup is going to be better than Tampa's. So I think that right now Tampa's the hotter team, and that means something, but I think Boston ultimately I don't even want to say they have the higher upside considering what Tampa's done recently. I think Boston's in play just because of the ballpark, the weather. They look good in the top stack tool. I like Papio enough to not prioritize them, but again, I wouldn't fault anyone who does. It's just, I respect Papio enough.
All right. Quickly, guys, we've got a 7-day free trial for everybody on Portfolio EV. I'm going to drop the link here into chat for you guys, but it is always, like all of our links, in the YouTube description below the videos that you are watching. There we go. Portfolio EV. Let's show a quick screen share of that. It is something that you can find, or I find rather helpful, even though I am in Florida and we only have one sports wagering website here. The nice thing is we have some pick'em sites which are available to us, and then we also have some of the social wagering sites. So what I've got here on the screen is just also what I'm sharing on playback. You can see the different bets. They're ranked by the OddsShopper score, the expected value or expected ROI, which is helpful to let you know what you're doing. And then we have recommended bet sizing and dynamic bets here that you can see. So if we want to, just to show you the ease of changing between portfolios, here's one I have set up that has me with NoVig, so I can see what's going on there. I signed up for that site on Sunday. Just a reminder, you can get a 10% deposit match up to $100, meaning put in 1,000, get 100 if you use the promo code STOK1. That's Stoke1. Also has the link in our description below us here. But you can compare across the different sports books to understand why certain wagers are popping, if they're good or not. You can filter the websites to make changes in very easily if you didn't want to see certain bets that weren't, in your opinion, key, like you want to raise the OddsShopper setting. If you want to change the expected value percentage, it's easy to just change it. You can see what it's going to put in, adjust your portfolio, and then go see what it's showing. And it's simple as that. So you can see by me raising that, I knocked out a whole bunch of the other bets that were there. So let's put a different portfolio back in to play so you guys can see that, but that is Portfolio EV. All righty, back to the stacks tool here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to move it along a little bit, I think.
What? We got this, man. We got this.
Okay.
So let's kick it over to the Yankees. How impressed are you with them, and do you want to take the torpedo bats against Michael Wacha?
Yeah, you're right about the time too. I don't know why I'm tripping. The Yankees look good here. I mean, it's the Yankees. Their lineup is stacked. It's got guys top to bottom that you want to play. Wacha is not a guy I'm ever afraid to pick on. He's not a guy I'm like, oh, I need to pick on Wacha, but whenever he's matched up with a team like the Yankees, I'm interested, especially when their ownership isn't crazy high, and it's not here. They're expensive, so that's where a guy like Bailey Ober comes into play. They're not my favorite stack, ownership price tag considered. I do think they end up a little bit higher owned than the top stack tool indicates, especially the top of their lineup, like Rice, Judge, Wells. Those guys all look good. I like the Yankees here. They're like with Tampa to me. They look really good. Wouldn't fault anyone for prioritizing them. There's another team I like more, a couple other teams I like more. So I'm not on the Yankees, but again, they look really, really good here.
All right. Concur with that. Nothing to add. Is there any bats that you fear with Fried? Aside from the obvious Bobby Witt and longtime lefty masher Sal Perez.
Yeah, so the Royals lineup is not one I'm afraid of, like, at all. I just think their strikeout upside isn't, like, Fried strikeout upside in this spot isn't crazy high. I'm not looking to stack Kansas City here. If you ever want to play Bobby Witt, you talked about Sal Perez. Cool. Like, those guys are, especially Witt, are elite. He can get there against anyone. But, for me, I'm not prioritizing the Kansas City stack, like, at all here. I respect Fried way too much to stack Casey on this slate.
Fair enough. Let's hit on the next one here because we got stuff to talk about that we haven't covered yet. It's Baltimore hosting Cleveland. You've got Logan Allen, not that Logan Allen, the other Logan Allen on the mound tonight. That joke's never going to get old if I'm doing shows with you. I'm just going to
it's already old. It's old. It's old.
It's not old like me. We're letting it age.
It's older than you.
But we've got the batters of Birdland here who haven't really blown up yet. They're running out nearly an entire right-handed lineup. It does look like Cedric Mullins made it in. They've got Gunnar Henderson in the cleanup spot. That's kind of fun. But they have a whole bunch of pretty good righties. You also have the ability to stack these guys in a myriad of ways because you could look down towards the bottom of the order with Ramon Laureano, longtime excellent hitter against lefties. Jorge Mateo, he's, to quote Pepsi 7 from back in the day, he's capable of a jack in a bag, stolen base,
that's a good shout out.
A home run.
That's a good one. And made up for your Logan Allen nonsense.
There we go. I'll have to clip this and send it to him since I gave him the shout out. But this is my favorite stack of the day going against Logan Allen. And keep in mind, they did not quite undo, but they undid and changed some of those left field renovations that they had done 4 seasons ago in Camden Yards. They redid them this offseason to lower the fence and bring it in again a little bit here. How do you feel about the batters of Birdland in Birdland?
I love both sides of this game. If I were playing multiple lineups, 3, 4 even, I would stack both sides of this game. Logan Allen stinks. Baltimore is in a really good spot here. Part of the reason that I'm not playing them personally, again, I'm only playing one lineup, and the Cleveland bullpen is still really good. So once you get out of Logan Allen, like, if he can just not be absolutely horrendous, which he might be, Baltimore could break this slate in the first inning. But if he's not, then you got to deal with the Cleveland bullpen. Only 8 innings, presumably. That's enough to not get me off Baltimore, but to prefer another stack or two. And then Cleveland, I like them a lot here. I mean, the ownership is nice on Cleveland. They're high in the top stack tool. I just don't love their lineup. And 2 of their top 4 hitters that you want to play are both only first base eligible. And when one of the top 4 hitters you want to play is Carlos Santana, that kind of tells you how weak the lineup is. So I like picking on Morton. Cleveland stack could get there. I mean, Morton stinks. Wind's blowing out here. I like both sides of this game a lot. They're like the 2 runners up for me. I'm terrified to not play them. I think you always ask me, who am I scared to not have enough of? It's both sides of this game. I mean, I could see both sides breaking the slate. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but yeah, I like this game a lot for offense.
All right, chugging along to our next one here. Now we've got, we hit on the Spencer Schwellenbach side here, but we do have Toronto, we have Atlanta in Toronto going against Kevin Gausman. Gausman's still a good above average pitcher. Atlanta, an okay offense, but things really fall apart because Marcell Ozuna had to go back to Atlanta for some imaging because he's dealing with some sort of injury. We mentioned Jurickson Profar has been suspended for half the season. Of course, Ronald Acuna Jr. is not back yet. That back end of the order with Drake Baldwin, Eli White, Jared Kelenic, and Nick Allen, not scary at all. Is that enough for you to start to consider Gausman? Because you still got to face 5 potential all-stars at the top.
Yeah, I'm not on Gausman here. I don't play a lot of him anymore. Not going to play him here. I respect him enough to not want to stack Atlanta, especially with this kind of weak lineup with no Ozuna. but I'm not going to play Gausman when we've got other options. I don't think he's a bad play. I would play him over stacking the Braves, I think, but just not someone I'm getting to. This game is kind of just a cross off for me. If Schwellenbach were actually getting ownership, I could make the case for Toronto, but he's not. So like there are other pitchers I'd rather pick on much more than Schwellenbach. Toronto's got upside always, top of their lineup, sure, but I just like other spots more. So yeah, this is kind of a cross off for me.
All right, then let's go to our next one. This is going to be the first of the 7:40 games. You got Atlanta. You've got the Athletics of West Sacramento in Chicago. It's going to be in the low 50s. You've got a breeze going out to right field, about 8 to 14 miles an hour. It looks like the wind gauge range on that one. Jeffrey Springs, intriguing pitcher, going against we got to think of something to call the historically bad. Do we just saddle them with that? The historically bad again, White Sox. Do you respect Sean Burke enough to stay away from the Athletics? Do you respect Sean Burke's potential talent enough to play him? What do you like from this one? What is your Midwest approach?
Yeah, so this is my favorite stack on the board. I love the Athletics here. Burke stinks. The bullpen stinks. Wind's blowing out. Guaranteed 9 at bats. I like this lineup. They're expensive enough where people are not going to be on them. They look good in the top stack tool. I'm on the Athletics here. I think Burke is going to come back down to earth pretty bigly. Okay. So I'm definitely on the Athletic side here. I like Springs. I think he's in that same boat of like Molly and McGill for me. Certainly the matchup is better for Springs. I think he's more volatile. He's going to strike out more guys, but probably get hit around a little bit more. Maybe not in this spot. So I could see why he would be the top of that group for anyone. For me, it's all about the Athletics, though. Like Springs is in play, not stacking the White Sox, not playing Burke. I am playing the Athletics. One guy I will call out for the White Sox is Chase Mydroff. He was one of the key guys in the Garrett Crochet deal. He broke up the no-hitter that Crochet had on Sunday. He looks good at the plate, and he's a guy that's raked throughout the minor leagues, hitting 5th at 2,200. As a really cheap bat, no one will be on. I'm not playing him, so remember that when he hits 2 bombs tonight.
All right. Depending on your side of choice, the A's are expensive. Buy one, get one on FanDuel, expensive on DraftKings, and mediocre on Yahoo. You do get a little bit of savings with JJ Bleday and Shea Langoliers on DraftKings. They're at 4,000 and 4,200 respectively there. Would you play any of the bottom 4 of this lineup?
Yeah, I would play the whole lineup if I were playing multiple lineups. I like the top half more, but that's going to be true about every lineup. I mean, the bottom's cheap. I like Wilson a lot. He's raked to start the season. Yeah, I would play the bottom of this lineup. I would have no problems with it. Now, the bigger the slate gets, the less you need to go to like bottom of the lineups to get different. Sure. But, you know, I think that if they destroy Sean Burke here, the bottom of the lineup's going to do something good.
Good call outs. Continuing along here, now we've got Jack Flaherty, who we mentioned. I think he's one of the better pitchers today. It's a tricky matchup against Milwaukee. They have the professional lineup, but Flaherty is a top 30 pitcher, which means he's a frontline starter. On the other side, do you think Quinn Priester has a prayer against the Motor City Kitties?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't feel strongly about Priester or the Tigers stack. I think you could make a case for both sides of it. Priester's really cheap. The Tigers are also really cheap and have shown upside. Cross off for me, you know, it's Flaherty in this game. I think it is obviously the best play. I think the Brewers stack are in play in like 150 settings against a really chalky Flaherty who, you know, has shown that he can get hit around. I mean, you mentioned the playoff starts. Like he's got a low floor when he's off. I mean, he's kind of like Dylan Cease in that regard, where most of his starts are going to be really good. Some of his starts are going to be amazing. And then a few of his starts are going to be shitty. And if he's that tonight as chalk, the Brewers have enough hitters to get there. I'm not prioritizing them personally, but I could see why someone would. Detroit and Priester's a cross off. I'm more likely to get to Detroit, but I don't feel great about it.
All right. Per the latest update, our most popular pitcher on DraftKings is Flaherty at 20%. Tyler Mahle, 18%.
That went
Landon
down.
Knack, 18. Everybody went down. Yeah, it's a top 12.
Well, Mahle went up then.
Yep. Well, 8 to 18.6. So
he was at like
they're
13.
all very flat. Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. All right, let's keep chugging along. Next game, let's do New York Mets at the Twins.
Wait, time out.
Yes.
I want to call this out because it's important to note that like Mahle is also number 2 overall in the top pitcher tool in front of Fried. So like his ownership went up a little bit, but man, he does still look really good in the tools. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, fair enough. We'll circle back to that since your old pal doesn't have good screen sharing skills for multiple screens. Next game up is the Mets at Twins. We spent a little time talking about both pitchers. Wait a second. Is Bailey Ober really 6,700?
Yes, he is. That's why I called him out.
That suddenly it's clicking now all of a sudden as I'm looking at taking in all the salaries. Wow, that's a pretty good price there. I still don't want to target him against the Mets, but I understand it now, Matt. I understand it. You got McGill on the other side. Let's see. Nothing really to mention here. This is weather's in the favor of the pitchers. Better offense is the Mets. The Twins are the Twinkies at this point. McGill, is he trustworthy? Is he not? We're going to find out tonight. Anything you wanted to add on this game that we didn't already cover? Because we do have 12 minutes left here.
Told you. So yeah,
we got time.
I know. I'm just playing with you. I'm just playing. So no, I like Ober here because of the price tag. If you told me you love the Mets today because you think Ober is just not himself, I could dig it. Like they're not my stack du jour, but they've got good enough hitters up top where they can get to anyone. We've seen Ober blow up. I'm on Team Ober tonight, but if you wanted to play the Mets, I get it. Twins and McGill. I like McGill more. Again, I'm torn on McGill versus Mahle. That doesn't mean I think the Twins are an awful play. They haven't been great to start the year. I think I like this lineup more than most when they're healthy. They're not always healthy, and maybe some of these guys are just old now, like Buxton and Correa, but I still kind of like them. If I were playing 150, I'd be over the field. Not a team I'd get to in like 3-entry max or smaller.
All right, as we turn our attention to the St. Louis Cardinals hosting the Astros, we have the Cardinals projected lineup for about a 26% strikeout rate against righties as we reach back to last season. They have a couple key hitters that are injured, and of course, with Paul Goldschmidt kind of out, who is the kid? Mason Wynn is out. One of their catchers is out, and they have one other player out. It's making them put some guys in lineup situations that I wouldn't have thought we would see them just because of how thin they are. I think that gets exposed throughout the season until the weather starts to warm up next to the Mississippi there, and we get the home run weather in Busch Stadium with the upper 80s, low 90s with matching humidity. That will change my tune on them. In the meantime, I'd rather reiterate my appreciation for Hunter Brown. Do you have anything you want to add for this matchup?
No, I'm a huge Hunter Brown fan in general. So I'm not stacking the Cardinals here. I would play Hunter Brown if salary wasn't a thing. I do like him here. He's just overpriced. So really it's about the Astros versus Eric Fetty. I'm fine with them. Like they don't stand out to me, but I don't think Fetty is that good. So if you played Houston, Yordan Alvarez is always going to stand out. He's gotten blown up at least once this year. I remember that Boston start. So he's got it in him. I think Houston looks good. Not amazing. Not bad. Just a stack that looks good with upside because when they're going, they've got good hitters at the top of their lineup.
Was scarred for years after watching Eric Fetty with the Nationals. Then he went over to the KBO. And he taught himself how to absorb punishment. He didn't come back with strikeout stuff. He just figured out to make a miss just enough and do things a little bit differently than what he was before. And that has served him well last year. We'll see what happens if the magic can continue this year. But he is not someone I'm terrified of, but it's one of those, he absorbs too much punishment. This iteration of him to make him someone I really would like to stack against. You know who I would like to stack against? Yusei Kikuchi. Sorry, former Mariner friend. He gets the Texas Rangers here. Home run of the day, Adolis Garcia. I'm just going to get that out right now. Matt, what do you like from the Rangers side? And do you have any nervousness about Kikuchi? He looked good for a minute last year with Houston, but that seems to be Houston doing Houston things, polishing up their pitchers. Kikuchi is not someone who scares me.
I think Kikuchi is better than you think he is, for sure. That said, I do like the Rangers here. Their tags are just so good. Kikuchi gives up power to righties. I mean, you got Semien, who hasn't been great this year, leading off at 3,800. I mean, it's just too cheap for a guy with power, speed, upside. Like, I don't care that he hasn't been great to start the season. I like him a lot in this spot. Seager, 4,700, under 5K. I don't care lefty on lefty. He mashes everyone. So I like him quite a bit. And then you mentioned Adolis. He looks great here. I mean, he crushes lefties. Kikuchi gives up tons of power to righties. But the guy that I think is maybe the best play on the slate is Josh Young. Low 3Ks. He has been raking this year. He's a guy that's raked throughout his entire minor league career, one of the top hitting prospects in baseball, raked in the major leagues before he got hurt, was a big part of them winning the World Series 2 years ago. He's like way, way too cheap here. I love him in this spot. I don't care if you're stacking the range or just playing him as a one-off. He looks elite to me at, I can't even remember, 3,400, something like that.
All right. Who makes you nervous for Molly now that you've had time to put that on the back burner and let your subconscious ruminate on it?
It's funny you asked that. I've been thinking about this the entire show, obviously. So I've picked on the Angels probably more than I should. 2 times recently I can remember. One time it absolutely burned me. Zach Littell, he sucks. And I only played him that day because it was a really small day slate. It was that Gavin Williams slate. I didn't like him. I just played him because it's who I landed on. And then Ronel Blanco, who I also really don't like. The Tools really liked Blanco that day, and he was very, very good. So I kind of like, again, I'm torn. This is one where I'm more than likely just going to trust the Tools and play Molly here. It scares me because you mentioned Mike Trout. The top of this lineup as kind of the theme around baseball. Bottom of the lineups are certainly a lot weaker. Surprise, surprise. But the top of this lineup is good. Trout, Rengifo, Taylor Ward's been on fire. Soler has power. Sean Noel is making elite contact, and good things are happening to him right now. The bottom of the lineup falls off. Malley's underlines aren't great, but he's been good. He just got through a really tough spot in Chicago against the Cubs. Now, good pitching weather there, but they've been crushing everyone. I don't feel great about it because it's Tyler Mahle, to be quite honest, but I think this is one where I'll trust the Tools and more than likely play him. But I do think the Angels are at least in play against him. The Top Stack Tool would say that's true. It's funny. I talk about, and I've asked you, McGill versus Mahle. The Tools like Mahle more as a pitcher, but they also like the Angels much more than the Twins as a top stack. So kind of tells you where we're at.
All right. We have 7 minutes to go. We've got 2 more games. I just dropped the NoVig referral code link into the chat. That also gets you the Stokastic link join. I'll drop that link in next. But if you join through our link, make your first deposit. They'll give you up to a 10% deposit match. Caps out at $100 deposit bonus. If you put in 1,000, get 100. Put in 100, get 10. That gets you 30 days of Stokastic single packet or single sport Sims package. So definitely check that out at No House Advantage. Our final 2 games here. I said Eminaga did not look as good in my research this morning. That surprised me. The strikeouts, he was decent last year with the strikeouts. This year, it's been a little bit rough. I suspect he will improve once again, but I was expecting to see a little bit more from his numbers. We have a top-heavy lineup here in San Diego, and then things fall apart right around Yuli Gurriel, who I can't believe is still in the league. Shout out to that guy for doing what he loves, Matt. It's surprising that he is there. But the back of this lineup, Gurriel, Jose Iglesias is an okay bat, okay glove. But Jason Hayward, Maldonado is the proverbial catcher who should always bat ninth, etc. The back of this Padres lineup is pretty punchless here. Do you have anything you want to say about Imanaga? And then what do you think of the greatest offense of all time in the Chicago Cubs?
Yeah, so Imanaga, we saw this matchup like 10 days ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. And Imanaga was really good against the Padres. Now, great pitching weather there, and he didn't get a lot of Ks, but he was very good. I'm not picking on even with the bottom of their lineup. He's very good, but not really the guy I want to go out of my way to pick on in San Diego. Now, I don't love the Padres here. You can always use Tatis, Machado, those guys in play every slate, especially against a lefty, but they kind of cross each other out. Like Imanaga is good enough where I don't need to stack San Diego. San Diego is good enough where I don't really want to use Imanaga. Now you get to Vasquez versus the Cubs. The Cubs wildly in play here. They're a team I'm definitely afraid of not playing. I'm only playing one team. They're expensive, but they're worth it. I mean, their lineup sets up really well against Vasquez. Kyle Tucker obviously is their top piece, but they've got a bunch of guys that if you're stacking, you want to get to. So no qualms with the Cubs at all. I like them a lot. Now, stacking in San Diego, when there's a full slate is more often than not a fool's errand. But the spot is good enough against Vasquez here where I could see it. So I'm on Team Cubs here. They're one of the top stacks on the board. Probably ahead for me of like Tampa. Right there with the Yankees. I'd probably stack them before the Yankees, though, because of ownership.
All right, which takes us to the final matchup of the night, which is back to the original question of what do we do with Landon Knack before we get to him. I would say we stack against Ryan Feltner. Thank you. That's why they pay me the big bucks and write songs about me for my amazing analysis, Matt. What do you have for our final game of the night?
Yeah, the Dodgers are going to be really chalky. They're the best lineup in baseball. Feltner's not great. I respect Feltner enough where I don't automatically need to stack against him, but he does give up power. It's the Dodgers. I don't have much to say about them. If you want to prioritize them, do your thing. The full stack won't be as high owned as some other slates because they're really expensive. And, we don't have crazy cheap pitching options unless you're playing both Morton and Ober or something like that. So I like them here. They're the top stack by a pretty large margin, the highest ownership. People will find ways to get to Ohtani and Betts. I mean, they're two of the best plays on the slate. They homered last night. For me,
did Ohtani get one too? I went to bed. I saw Betts go.
Didn't he lead off? Didn't he? He hit the first one, I think, didn't he?
I was asleep. All I know is I won my bet, and I saw that Betts hit a home run. So,
yeah, I thought Ohtani did too. I could be wrong, but
I'll double check that.
Yeah, so either way, Dodger stack looks great because they're always going to look great against the non-elite pitcher. And then Knack, I've already made my feelings clear here. You're playing him because of the matchup. I'm not playing him because I don't think he's very good and he's overowned. I like the other cheap guys more. He does help you get to the Dodgers stack, but I also feel like you're going to be fighting with a lot of people. You're fighting an uphill battle using Knack with the Dodgers because a lot of people who use Knack are going to do that. So I'm off of him. Yeah, I'm personally off of him. But again, I can't fault anyone for playing any pitcher against the White Sox or the Rockies. So he's up against the White Sox tonight, or he's up against the Rockies, excuse me. Yeah, mostly I probably personally won't have that much from this game. Dodger stack, obviously appealing. Rocky stack against Knack for leverage in 150 settings. Sure. More likely to get to just pieces of Colorado because they're really cheap, and I don't think Knack is very good.
All right. You were correct. Ohtani got one in the third inning. Betts got one in the first inning. They both homered last night. You can tell when I went to sleep, so I didn't look too closely after I saw, 5-3 as I woke up in the middle of the night to do what old guys do in the middle of the night when they run to the bathroom. But with that, we're going to get on out of here because we have basketball up next, 90 seconds away. We have real meaningful basketball. That's a huge departure from what we have seen with the meanderings over the last month. We're going to see short rotations. We're going to see actual defense played, I hope, because this is a crucial night for several teams. With that, you guys can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. You can find me at EMACDFS. Stay on this YouTube channel, but click on the other show to get your NBA fill tonight. With that, gamers, good luck.